Is it better to do the Chrome tab or the entire screen? I'll probably just pick one.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the screen.
Okay. Let's see how this works because it didn't give me that full option. Do you see, is that, okay, look good. Are we full screen?
Yep.
Okay.
I can see it great. And I think we're at time too. So I believe we are live. Just want to welcome everyone in wherever you are joining us from today. I hope you guys are having a great day and happy Friday to you all. Welcome to day 3 of Marjoryman. I'm so excited to introduce this next session, a super important and relevant topic of embracing a first-party data strategy for sales and marketing. So without further ado, I will pass it over to you, Natasha and Jaime. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Welcome, everybody. Thanks, Kayla, for the intro. My name is Jaime López. I work as Senior Director of Content and Marketing Operations at a company called Ivan, which is a managed cloud data platform. And I'll be presenting today with Natasha.
Thank you. Yes, I'm Natasha Martin. I'm the Manager of Marketing Automation for Love's Travel Stops and Country Stores. We currently have over 600 locations across the United States.
All right. And then I want to also say a word towards our sponsors and thank them, because those companies that you see on the screen are the ones making this possible and helping Marjoryman become a reality. And without their support and their help, we wouldn't be able to be here telling you about first-party data. Then moving on, our agenda today is going to cover 3 main topics. The first one, the data party. We're going to tell you what do we exactly mean by first-party, zero-party data, and why is this differentiation important. After that, we're going to move into what to bring to a data party. So we're going to leave you with some ideas to enhance your customer data strategy. And to close it off, we'll show what can you actually do with marketing data strategy. We hope we pique your interest with this by showing you some use cases and examples in both Marketing Cloud and Marketing Cloud account engagement. And kicking it off already, the data party and data types and why they matter. I'll start by the second part of that. Why does this matter? The main reason why this matters is that the regulatory framework around customer data is changing all the time. And it can seriously hamstring what you can do if you don't have a full understanding of what data you have, what regulation applies to it, and what party is providing you that data. In all of this conundrum, consent, freely given specific consent, is always the strongest grounds for processing personal data. So focusing on what we will call then zero-party, first-party data will give you a significant edge. On the other hand, third-party data, its trade and its possession and usage is becoming very quickly non-compliant or is being restricted in several geographies like the EU or California. And now we will explain exactly what we mean with these data types. So on the left-hand side of the slide, zero-party data, this is what you can obtain from your customers explicitly given by them via progressive profiling, collected through sign-up, service, transactions, etc. Things that a customer is conscious that they're giving you this data point. This is the most reliable, but you have to keep an eye on it because it changes over time and it's fairly limited. And first party is what you collect through purchases, through web engagement, that the customer is giving to you without maybe knowing exactly specifically every detail of the data they're giving you, such as web engagement data. This is very reliable still. It is your data, and it will power a lot of what we will talk about today. Then, radically opposed to this second and third party data, these are data that the customer is not providing to you directly, but rather in the case of second party through vendor partnerships from another company. For example, when you throw an event or webinar together, it's less reliable than first party. And third party is That data that you collect and aggregate anonymously through segments or an aggregator, companies like to throw in the buzzword AI and maybe fast matching. This is least reliable. It's very scalable. It can allow you to do things that you could never do with zero first-party data. But on the other hand, you have to be wary and careful with what data do you have. And now I'll hand it off to Natasha for her to tell us what type of data you should prioritize.
All right, thank you. So when you're thinking about what types of first-party data you want to prioritize as an organization, you first need to think about your customer's journey with your brand holistically. So all the way from acquiring new customers to onboarding them, engaging with your customers, and then, of course, hopefully turning them into brand advocates. So you want to use that customer journey mapping process to define your engagement strategies and goals with messaging, and then figure out how does that tie back to measurable areas like lift. So are customers ordering additional things online or making additional purchases within the store? Upsell, are you creating any upsell opportunities through messaging? Are they purchasing new products that they might not have purchased without those campaigns? Retention, what kind of efforts are you making to retain the customers you have? Because of course, it's always more expensive to acquire new customers than to retain existing ones. And then win back opportunities. What types of opportunities are you messaging with customers who you have lost and getting them back into your ecosystem? And then through all of that strategy and planning, you want to identify the messaging that will be most impactful to achieving those measurable goals, and then figure out what are those data points that are needed to make each one of those messaging journeys happen. So let's talk about how you would use that data in campaigns and messaging to help you figure out what are those specific first-party data points that you need to focus on. So think about the logic when determining whether or not to trigger a message. What data points do you need to target the right customers and also trigger the messages at the right time? So whether it be through APIs with Automation Studio or via Salesforce Core. And then also, what data points do you need to personalize your messaging templates across all of your channels, and maybe data that you might need within the logic to determine which type of personalization content you need to surface. And then think about the data points that you need when a customer comes into Journey Builder. What data do you need to know whether or not to send them down a specific messaging path, track whether or not they've converted within a journey, and then also what data points do you need to determine when to exit them out of a specific messaging flow? And then, of course, at the end of the day, we want to measure the effectiveness of campaigns. I will tell you that this does usually require like a connector to Tableau CRM or extracting the data out of Salesforce Marketing Cloud. But we have a lot of tools now like Datarama that can also help you achieve this. So now I'm going to hand it back to Jaime to talk about data architecture and some of the technologies that power these types of campaigns.
Thank you, Natasha. I'm going to start by showing you how the sausage is made at Ivan and how our marketing data architecture looks like. I work in a B2B software service company, and I was told that no good presentation, no good technical presentation is complete without an architecture diagram. So here, I'm happy to expose what's going on and what's under the surface. We start with first-party data on the left-hand side of the screen, even though I acknowledge that the slides are blurry and you might not be able to read it, but we'll share them afterwards. But we gather that data from our own product, from our own websites and documentation, and data that exists inside Pardot. We also use third-party data from other marketing channels like social media, from the marketplaces where a customer might buy our product or service, and from service channels like Service Cloud. We pass this through to a central repository, in our case, Google BigQuery, a relational database, through one of our own products, Apache Kafka, which is an event buffer. When we have a data stream that goes into BigQuery, then we can use that to activate different or trigger different flows in Pardot or in Salesforce. We enrich this data through different enrichment tools, and all in all, it ends up in Pardot in the account, prospect, contact, and lead objects. On the next slide, I'll show you what do we actually do with this. I'm going to read it out loud. So these are our trial communications. When you start a free trial with us for 30 days, we are going to have a fully automated, customized communications flow going out to you during those 30 days, starting by wanting to get you to confirm your credentials and provision a project in the tool. And then we're going to try to activate you in less than 4 hours. The reason for that is that our research shows us that users that get activated in the first 4 hours have a much higher chance of converting. After that, the focus changes to helping you create your first service and offer contextual help, depending on which product you use. And after that, we're going to help you use the service, get value from it, and load data. What does this all mean end-to-end? That through Pardot and the data architecture we showed, we can provide actionable and product-specific content throughout the whole journey. And this is all automated in a way that when you're very early in the journey, Pardot will automatically serve you content to activate you. And when you're a bit further down the journey, we're going to have the first and zero-party data to know to serve you content to help you load data and not activate. Now I think Natasha will refresh the screen and share again based on the instructions we've been given, see if we can get the slides working better.
Oh, I apologize. I can't see those instructions. Let me stop sharing real quick.
No problem. I think that the topic is deep enough that our audience will probably welcome the 30 seconds to digest it.
I'm going to stop my video and see if that might help.
All right. Are you able to reshare the slides? No? Here we go. It's better.
Does that look better? Yeah. Okay, great.
Better. Brilliant.
All right.
Thank you, Natasha.
Sure, no problem.
It wouldn't be mobs if we wouldn't do like live problem solving.
Got to have some technical difficulties. That's right.
Familiar concept for a lot of our audience, I'm sure. Continuing on that, so apart from journey coverage, we can also do portfolio coverage. Depending on the product you use, and we know that through zero-party, first-party data, we're going to serve you completely different content. We use dynamic content here for this, for example, and we read a value of a particular field in a custom object to decide what to serve you product-wise. And then in the next slide, you'll also see that we can nest dynamic content one inside each other. Yesterday, there was a beautiful session about nested dynamic content. And what we can do with it is also do language coverage or global coverage. If we know that your preferred language is Japanese, we'll serve the content to you in Japanese, also respecting journey, respecting product preferences. If not, we'll serve it to you in US English. To get this all working, there are some things to keep in mind. The first one is that you need to have these fields that host zero-party and first-party data in objects that Pardot can access. So prospect, lead, contact, and very likely account. And these fields are going to control the whole flow. You might need custom objects, but that's a topic for another day. And Pardot has some limitations, like, for example, dynamic content, which is great, but can only have 25 variations. You might need to nest to do double dynamic content, or you're going to need a whole lot of engagement programs. And also, I'll close with a warning that testing these things individually or these deployments individually is not enough. You need end-to-end test cases, and write a whole bunch of end-to-end test cases for the whole journey and try it all and make sure that it doesn't let in any water. With that, I'll hand off to Natasha, who will show us how she gets it done in Marketing Cloud.
All right, thank you. So data architecture on the Marketing Cloud side, of course, you'll still have a lot of data sources that are coming in from various platforms. For example, transactions, website, engagement. I won't go over all of these, capturing some form data, etc. But your first goal here would be to centralize all of this data into one place. So typically a data warehouse. So not only do you have access to the data, but your entire organization has access to it as well. And then you want to think about those customer strategies that you defined at the beginning. So figure out what are your internal segmentation strategies, and then also use some AI and machine learning models to learn things about your customers that you might not know. And then from all of that, create your important customer aggregates that will help you activate your marketing automation. And then you need to push all of that back into your data warehouse, but also probably a customer data platform, so that you then can push that into Marketing Cloud and activate it. And then of course, you'll see on the right side here too, you have a lot of other integrations with Marketing Cloud. So of course, you've got the Salesforce connector. You might have a mobile app that's integrated with Marketing Cloud, and we'll talk about that here in just a minute. Various SDKs that integrate with Marketing Cloud. So an example could be a third-party survey tool that integrates with Marketing Cloud to push and pull data, and then of APIs. So maybe you're using APIs to trigger messaging in real time, transfer data between systems, pull content, do a lot of different things there. So another important piece of your architecture should be a monitoring solution, because if you're automating all of these processes and messaging for customers, you want to make sure that you can proactively identify any potential customer-facing impacts so that you can dig into logs, API call stack traces to hopefully identify a root cause and a solution quickly. All right, so let's talk about engagement strategies for mobile push. If you have a mobile app, you can work with your app development team to integrate it with Marketing Cloud. And what that will allow you to do is surface in-app and mobile push alert messaging to customers. But there's a couple things that you need to think about before you do that. One of them primarily is how you want to handle your push subscribers in Marketing Cloud. So you've got two options. One of them is you can work with your app team to create a subscriber in Marketing Cloud for every customer that downloads your app. You won't necessarily know who those customers are, but you can still surface information and alerts to them. It just won't be as personalized. The other option is that you can have your app team suppress the creation of a subscriber in Marketing Cloud until they've associated it with an account. So maybe they're logging into an account through the app or creating an account. And then, of course, you'll get that richer data mapped to those subscribers so that you can personalize that messaging. And it's not a one or all solution. So you can choose to have customers be created as an anonymous subscriber in Marketing Cloud. And then if they go back and later associate an account, you can remap that subscriber through the SDK integration to that known customer record. The reason this is important is it does have impacts to your billable subscriber counts for your contacts. And so you want to have a good solution in place or a good strategy as to what is most important and make sure that you're setting it up that way. Another thing to know is that once a customer associates their app and their device with an account, they can log back out, but you'll still know who they are and you can still push personalized messaging to them. So once you have this integrated, the next thing that you want to think about is what type of event and behavioral data do you want to capture based on how your customers are using the app. You have a couple options here. One of them is you can use an integrated app behavioral vendor to surface customer profile data about the events and purchases in an app to Marketing Cloud. And then another option is the enhanced engagement mobile SDK. So it used to be just the mobile push SDK. This is an enhanced version, and we'll talk about it in a little more detail here in just a second. But primarily what this allows you to do, and one important note is that it doesn't currently surface all of that event data and data extensions in Marketing Cloud. And so you're limited in how you can use Automation Studio to surface that into campaign segmentation, journey injection, et cetera. But what you do get through this new functionality is the ability to enter a customer into a journey in real time based on a predefined event that they take in the app. And so that's pretty powerful. But in addition to that, to solve that problem of the customer profile, you can also push those events to CDP, and then through that surface a customer profile that you can then integrate with Marketing Cloud. So let's first talk about those app behavioral vendors. This is just an example of one that is available through App Exchange in Marketing Cloud. It allows you to attribute app events to real-world user behavior, and then use the insights that you get from that event data to map your customers to different personas to determine when is the best time to message them and what type of content should you deliver. And then that engagement mobile SDK, like I said, allows you to push event information not only to Marketing Cloud, but also to CDP. And so that's something that you want to consider when you're setting this up and working with your app development team, because there is some documentation online about the configuration of that SDK integration if you're using both. So just make sure to notate that if you decide to go that route. And then this is an example of some of the engagement events and attributes that you might set up associated with an app, but there's a couple things you want to know here. Marketing Cloud currently allows a maximum of 20 unique event names to be defined per mobile push event. So you'll see some examples over here to the left. They may have favorited something in the app. They may have started a checkout process, completed a checkout process. And then another thing to note is that with those event names, you're allowed up to 10 event attributes per event. So there is some strategy that you want to put around this when you're determining what events you want to surface into those systems. So think about that before you're working with your app team, and then they can help you set those up. All right, so now I'm going to hand it back to Jaime to close us out. We appreciate your time today.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Natasha. So now it's time for us to wrap it up, and we're going to leave you after this barrage of info with 3 main points. If you take anything home, apart from being extremely interested in implementing all of this, we want it to be these 3 things. The first, that you understand what kind of data you need and which party, 0, 1st, 2nd, or 3rd, controls that piece of data. The second point, that you should future-proof your core programs of marketing engagement by gathering and maintaining a healthy stack of 0 and first-party data. And the third point is that Pardot, or Account Engagement, and Marketing Cloud offer endless possibilities to use this. You've seen a teaser of many things that you can do. And after this, sky's the limit. Go for it. Thank you very much. I think we actually have some time for Q&A, don't we?
All right, great.
Thank you so much, guys. Yes, I was just going to say we do have a few minutes for Q&A, and it looks like we do have at least one question. And if you, audience members, if you want to get in your questions, feel free to post them in the chat or the Q&A tab. But question for you both, do you notice a difference in the kind of data you wish to capture or track for prospect nurturing or demand generation as opposed to lead generation and sales involvement?
I think we might have different answers for that, being one of us in a B2B business and the other one in a B2C business, but I can start with the B2B part. Yes, there are differences in the data. The kind of data that I favor for prospect nurturing is behavioral in-product data. When I want to convert a trial user to a fully paying user, and that has to do with using the product and what kind of content do they read. Then what my sales team want is something quite different. Want data on account intent or aggregated account data, so they know there's a buying center and they can cross-sell and upsell regardless of who the individual is in the account engaging with us. So yes, different data, individual data for nurturing, account data for sales.
And I would say, yeah, I would say, one of the things that we try to do, because we do a little bit of both. So we do B2B and B2C, and I can't get into specifics, but just at a higher level, we try to help the sales teams identify whether or not a prospect is qualified. And so I think that's an important piece of it too, because we want them to work on focusing their time and efforts on those customers they can actually convert. On the B2B or on the B2C side, it gets a little more challenging. And so you have to cast a wider net when you're trying to acquire those customers. But then, of course, once you get them onboarded and into your systems, you have that richer data where you can really personalize their experience. And those are the data points that you're trying to define.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. One more question here. How long does getting that architecture set up take on average?
I think the smirks say it all. It's a never-ending job. Probably the first setup for us, and we have a much simpler architecture than what other people have, takes roughly, a quarter, 2 quarters maybe. And then it really comes down to technical competence and ambition. If you have people who are technically competent and kind of understand what you can do and how you can connect different things in the stack, you will have an easier time. And if you have an ambitious marketing operations team that wants to connect plenty of things and wants to do better and squeeze that percentage point in conversion rate, it will take a bit longer, but it's absolutely worth the effort.
Yeah, and I would agree. And there's a lot of variables that come into play there. So it's, the size of your organization, the size of your teams. Usually to onboard a platform, probably a couple months gives you a good established integration into some systems, but not all. And then it just depends on how many systems you need to integrate with too. So it really is a case by case basis. It's kind of a hard question to answer.
And stacks keep evolving, or must evolve all the time. You should never be fully content with your stack. At least we evaluate every month. Do we need to add things, remove things, change things?
Yeah, that's a really great point. All right. Well, I think that does it as far as questions. I just want to thank you guys both again for that amazing presentation. Audience members, again, we will be sending out these slides afterwards. Thanks for bearing with us through that little bit of blurriness, but we'll make sure you get these. If you haven't already, would definitely check out some of our sponsors and resources over in the or up at the sponsors and resources tab in between sessions. And again, we've got a jam-packed day full of great content for you guys. So enjoy your day, and thank you guys again for this great session.
Thanks for having us.
It's been a pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Bye.